I didn't wake up that morning expecting fate to drag me into someone else's storm. Honestly, I was just trying to survive my shift, keep my head down, clean what I was assigned to clean, stay invisible on the high floors where men with power could crush people like me without blinking. But fate didn't care what I wanted. And everything started in a hallway so quiet it made the world feel tilted, wrong, waiting. I stepped out of the service elevator with a broom in my hand. The polished floor beneath me gleamed like a mirror. The entire place smelled faintly of wealth, cold marble, expensive cologne, silence held together by money. Then the silence shattered. It broke open like glass under a boot heel. "Don't leave. I don't want you." The scream hit me so hard I actually flinched. The broom slipped in my grip. I looked up just in time to see a woman, mid-30s, blonde hair sticking to her cheeks, running toward the main elevator as if something was chasing her. Her breath came out in panicked bursts. Her eyes were red, wet, terrified. She didn't even look at me. She just smashed the elevator button with shaking hands. "I'm sorry," she whispered to herself, or maybe to no one. "I'm sorry, I can't. The elevator dinged, doors sliding open like a lifeline. She stumbled in and hit the ground floor button so many times I thought her finger might break. The doors closed on her tear-streaked face. And for a second, I thought that would be the end of it, that silence would return, the world would correct itself, and I'd go back to mopping dust no one would ever thank me for noticing. But then the child screamed again. And this one wasn't fear. It was heartbreak, anger, a howl from something small but powerful, like the world had betrayed him. I moved down the hall, and that was when I saw him. A little boy, around 5, maybe a small 6, standing in the middle of the hallway like a furious storm cloud. His tiny alpha instincts flared around him like heat waves. Fists clenched, face red, tears on his cheeks that looked too heavy for someone that young. His name, I would learn later. Rion. But right then, he was just a trembling child whose pain filled the hallway. And standing across from him was a man so cold and controlled he almost didn't look real. Kael Arden. When I saw him, I forgot how to breathe. Tall, shoulders broad and rigid under a black dress shirt that fit like it was sewn straight onto him. Hair dark, perfectly in place. Eyes the kind of gray steel that should have felt empty, except they didn't. No, there was something behind them. Something tight. Something exhausted. Something barely held together. He stood like a man used to being obeyed without question. A man who commanded boardrooms and entire industries. A man who didn't break. But today, something was breaking inside him. "Rion," he said low, firm, measured. "Stop this." Rion stomped so hard the sound echoed down the entire floor. "I said I don't want anyone else. I want him." Kale exhaled slowly through his nose, the muscle in his jaw twitching. "Him who, Rion? You chase every babysitter out before I even learn their names." Rion let out a sob that shook his whole little body. His hands pulled at his hair. His tears fell faster. A 5-year-old alpha pup in meltdown. Nothing is louder. Nothing is more heartbreaking. Kale took a step forward, reaching out, not roughly, not angrily, just tiredly, like he'd done this 100 times and still didn't know how to fix it. "Son." Rion jerked back like he'd been burned. "No," he cried, voice cracking. I want." He didn't finish. Instead, his knees buckled a little. And for reasons I still don't understand, that was the moment my body moved before my mind did. I took a step. The elevator behind me dinged. Fate, if it's real, opened those doors exactly then, like it wanted witnesses. The air shifted. Kale's head snapped toward me. Rion did too. And I froze like a deer on a dark road. Me, wearing a cheap gray uniform. Hair damp from steam cleaning. Hands holding a broom and still smelling faintly of lemon disinfectant. Just an Omega cleaner who wasn't supposed to be seen on penthouse floors unless the owners were out. Kael Arden's eyes swept over me. Slow, sharp, confused, as if his instincts recognized something his mind didn't yet know. I looked away, ready to back into the elevator and vanish. But then Rion took a tiny, shuddering breath. And his little voice broke on a whisper. "Soren." My heart stopped. I shouldn't have heard that. I shouldn't have mattered. "Soren," he repeated again, louder this time, like a gasp he'd been holding. And then he ran. Straight toward me. Kale moved, startled. "Rion." But the boy didn't hear him. He barreled into me, small arms latching around my waist with desperate strength. He pressed his face into my stomach, trembling uncontrollably. "I found you," he whispered, voice frayed. "I found you, don't go. please don't go again. My hands hovered in the air for half a second, because this wasn't normal. Not for alphas. Not for omega strangers. Not for anyone. And yet, something soft unfolded in my chest, something old and familiar, something I hadn't felt in years. Instinct. I knelt down slowly, my broom clattering gently onto the floor beside me. My hands rested on his tiny back, careful, steady. I felt him breathe, felt how each inhale shook like it might fall apart. "I'm here," I whispered. "I'm right here." And Rion collapsed against me with a relieved sob, his entire body loosening, as if the weight he carried finally slid off his small shoulders. He melted into me, like he'd known me forever, like I was home. I swallowed hard. My eyes stung. I didn't know this boy. I'd never met him. But he held on to me like I was the only safe place he had left in the world. When I finally lifted my head, Kale was staring. Not breathing. Not blinking. Just staring. 1,000 questions burned in his eyes, sharp, confused, and something else behind it. Something instinctive. Something alpha. "Who?" Kale breathed, his voice dropping into something dangerous. "Are you?" Not a threat. Not anger. Just raw disbelief. I opened my mouth, then closed it. What could I even say? "I'm just Soren," I managed. "Cleaner staff. I wasn't supposed to be on this floor. Rion whimpered and clutched my shirt, tiny fingers digging into the fabric as if afraid I'd disappear if he loosened his grip. "Don't leave," he whispered again. "Please. Please don't leave." My heart twisted in a way I didn't expect. Kale took a hesitant step closer. "Rion," he said carefully. "Let go of him." Rion shook his head violently and pressed closer to me. Kale froze, not in anger, but in something like pain. The man looked defeated, like he'd been trying so hard for so long, and all he'd gotten were slammed doors and fleeing babysitters. Seeing that expression on a man like him hurt more than I expected. I gently smoothed a hand over Rion's back. "Hey, it's okay," I murmured, my voice softening into something instinctive. "You're safe." Rion's breathing eased. Slowly, steadily, calming in my arms. And that, or maybe the way Kale watched it happen, shifted something in the air. His eyes stayed locked on me, searching, trying to make sense of the impossible. "My son," he said softly, an exhale more than a sentence. He didn't finish the thought. He didn't need to. His son never calmed for anyone. But he was calm for me. The hallway felt too small, too charged, too intimate. Kale's eyes lingered on my hands, the way they held his son. Then they lifted to my face, and something flickered in his gaze, something sharp and troubled and unbearably warm all at once. It felt like heat touching skin that had been cold for too long. "I don't understand," Kale admitted quietly, like the words pained him. Neither did I. But Rion pressed his cheek to my shoulder and sighed, a tiny, exhausted sound, and the world softened around us. Kale dragged a hand through his hair, breath unsteady. He looked at me again, not with suspicion this time, but desperation. "Why you?" he whispered. I couldn't answer. Rion shifted slightly and wrapped his arms around my neck, eyes finally closing, lashes still wet from crying. I gently adjusted my hold so he wouldn't slide. Kale watched my every movement like each small action was teaching him something he'd never known before. He swallowed hard. And the man who probably commanded entire companies with a single word looked at me like I'd just broken every rule in his universe. The silence between us wasn't empty. It was full. Full of questions neither of us could speak. Full of emotions neither of us expected. Full of something that felt too big for that hallway. Rion's breathing slowed. He leaned his head on my shoulder. And Kale exhaled, the kind of exhale that shivered out of a man who'd been holding too much inside. "Soren," he said softly. My name in his mouth felt too intimate. "Yes," I whispered. His eyes were unreadable. Hot. Confused. Drawn. "We need to talk," he murmured. But he didn't move closer. He didn't take Rion from me. He just looked at us, at Rion in my arms, at the way the little boy trusted me without question, and something shifted behind his eyes. Something deep. Something he wasn't ready to admit aloud. The world outside our small circle kept spinning. Luxury, sunlight, polished floors, wealth. But in that moment, it felt like only the three of us existed. Me, Rion, Kale, and the strange, terrifying thread that had appeared between us. A thread fate had tied without permission. Rion's tiny fingers curled tighter into my shirt, and he mumbled something so soft I barely heard it. "Soren feels safe." Kale heard it. He froze. Pain. Longing. And something shockingly vulnerable flickered across his face before he hid it again behind that cold alpha exterior. But I saw it. I saw everything. For a second, he looked like a man starving for something he didn't know how to name. And that was the moment I realized. This wasn't the end of anything. It was the beginning. The moment our lives collided. The moment Kael Arden's world, and mine, shifted off its axis. The moment fate made a promise neither of us understood yet. Rion relaxed completely in my arms, breathing softly against my collarbone. Kale's eyes lingered there. And the way he looked at me. Not like a mere staff or stranger, nor like an inconvenience. But like someone he suddenly, desperately didn't want to let go of. Made my heart stumble in my chest. Everything changed in that hallway. Kale's eyes were still on me when the hallway finally fell silent. Rion's soft breathing warmed the side of my neck. His tiny fingers were still curled in the fabric of my shirt, refusing to let go even in sleep. And Kale stood a few feet away like he was afraid that moving even a step might break whatever fragile magic had fallen over the three of us. The tension between us stretched thin, almost humming. "Come inside," Kale said quietly, voice low, steady, too calm for the storm in his eyes. "We can talk there." His gaze flicked to Rion in my arms, as if the sight was both a shock and a relief he didn't know how to process. I didn't trust alphas. Not after what I'd lived through. Not after what one of them had taught me about fear. But Rion stirred a little in my arms, nuzzling his cheek into my shoulder like I'd been holding him for years. And something inside me whispered, "It's okay. For now, it's okay." So I nodded. Kale let out a breath so quiet I almost missed it. He turned and opened the penthouse door. The soft click echoed like a heartbeat. I followed him in. The penthouse was enormous. Warm lighting, dark wood, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking a city stitched with lights. Everything smelled faintly like cedar, citrus, and expensive cologne. His presence lingered in every corner. Power, order, control. Yet the inside wasn't cold. Not like I expected. It felt lived in. And lonely. Kale closed the door gently, almost cautiously, as if sudden movement might wake the sleeping child in my arms. "Sit," he said, gesturing to the deep gray sofa. But his voice wasn't commanding. It was unsure, careful, like he was trying not to startle me. I lowered myself slowly, shifting Rion so he could rest more comfortably against me. His tiny hand flattened against my chest. Kale watched the motion like it punched a hole in his armor. He came closer but didn't sit, not yet. He stood in front of me, hands flexing at his sides like he didn't know what to do with them. "My son," he said softly, eyes flicking to Rion again, "has never reacted like this. Not to anyone. Not even to me. Pain. Real, deep pain tightened his jaw. And he tried to hide it, but I saw. I swallowed, looking down at the boy sleeping against me. He's just tired, maybe." Kale shook his head. "No. It's more than that." His voice cracked, just barely, but enough to make my chest tighten. "He hasn't slept in days," Kale admitted. "Nightmares. Panic attacks. The therapists say he's overwhelmed by." He stopped abruptly, as if catching himself. "As if it's your business," he muttered to himself, frustrated. And maybe it wasn't. But Rion shifted in my arms again, little fingers curling in my shirt. "It's okay," I said quietly. "You can tell me." Kale's eyes snapped up. For a long second, he searched my face, like he couldn't believe he wanted to talk to me of all people. Then he exhaled shakily. "Rion hasn't connected to anyone in months," he murmured. "Everyone keeps telling me it's normal after what happened with his mother." His voice caught, pain slicing through the calm exterior he'd been forcing since I met him. "She left," he said quietly. "No note. No warning. Just gone." My lips parted. "Kale." He flinched, barely, but enough that I knew the wound was still raw. "It broke something in him," Kale said, looking at the floor. "He screams himself awake. He refuses to eat unless I'm in the room. And these babysitters," he gestured vaguely, "they last an hour, maybe two. And then he pushes them away like he's afraid they'll disappear too." My chest tightened with understanding. Abandonment. Trauma. The ache of being left behind. I knew those feelings too well. "I'm sorry," I whispered. Kale's eyes lifted to mine, slow, heavy. He didn't look like a billionaire alpha then. He looked like a father who'd been trying so damn hard to keep everything together. And failing quietly. "This is the first time he's slept without crying," Kale murmured, looking at Rion in disbelief. "The first time in months." Rion shifted again, curling closer to me. Kale's breath stuttered. He trusts you, Kale whispered. His voice wasn't shocked this time. It was something else. Something rough. Something raw. Something almost hopeful. I don't know why, I said honestly. He studied me for a long moment. His eyes didn't wander or skim. He looked directly into me, like he was trying to find the answer hidden behind my skin. I dropped my gaze, but he quietly said, Soren. My head lifted automatically. The way he said my name. Soft. Slow. Like it tasted unfamiliar on his tongue, but he wanted to get used to it. You didn't flinch when he screamed, Kale said, voice low. You didn't look afraid. Or annoyed. Or overwhelmed. You just went to him. I swallowed. My throat felt too tight. I've seen children like him before, I whispered. Kids who break fast. Kids who've been hurt in ways they don't know how to speak. Kale stilled. Something sharpened in his eyes. Something curious. You say that like you've worked with them, he said carefully. And that was when my breath stilled. Because he didn't know yet. He didn't know who I used to be. What I used to be. Before everything shattered. I inhaled slowly. Not anymore, I said quietly. I don't work with anyone anymore. Kale didn't push. But he felt the weight behind my words. He sank into a chair across from me, elbows resting on his knees, hands clasped loosely. It was the first time he seemed smaller. Not weak. Just human. He watched Ryan's small face for a long time, then his eyes drifted back to mine, slower this time, softer, as if he couldn't resist checking again. How did you calm him? Kale asked in a whisper. What did you do? Nothing, I murmured. I just knelt down. Kale let out a soft, disbelieving scoff. That's not nothing. I chewed on my lip. Maybe he just needed someone who didn't expect him to act strong. Kale's expression changed. His eyes lifted from Ryan to me, really lifted, like something inside him shifted. And suddenly, the air felt thicker. He leaned back in his chair, gaze flicking over my face like he couldn't stop himself. Soren, he said slowly, stay. My breath froze. He realized how blunt he sounded, because he straightened slightly. Not permanently. Nah, he exhaled. Just for tonight. Please. Please. From a man like him? I blinked. Kale. Ryan needs you, he said softly, eyes dropping to the sleeping pup in my arms. Just one night. That's all I'm asking. My heart twisted painfully. I shouldn't say yes. I shouldn't stay. Alphas meant danger. Closeness was a risk. And staying the night in a penthouse with a powerful alpha who looked at me like that was more danger than anything else. But Ryan's tiny hand curled against my chest. His little sigh warmed my collarbone, and I couldn't force myself to stand. Not when he finally looked peaceful. Not when his nightmares had finally stopped. I closed my eyes and exhaled shakily. Okay, I whispered. I'll stay. Kale didn't breathe for a second. The relief on his face, raw, unguarded, overwhelming, felt like something I should not have seen. Something meant for no one but him. Thank you, he murmured, voice deepening with emotion he didn't name. My chest tightened so hard I had to look away. Kale stood slowly, like he was afraid to break the moment. He walked toward me, carefully, silently, and knelt in front of the sofa. Right in front of me. Our faces were inches apart. Our breaths mixed. He reached toward Ryan, not me, but close enough that my pulse stuttered, and gently brushed hair from his son's forehead. When he looked up, he was too close. Soren, he whispered, I don't know how you did it, but thank you. His breath ghosted against my cheek. My skin burned. I swallowed hard and nodded, too breathless to speak. Kale didn't move back. Neither did I. For a moment, the world shrank to him. His scent, clean pine, amber, something warm. His eyes, stormy gray and too intense for my lungs to handle. His hands, inches from my knee, steady and warm. My heart thundered in my ears. His gaze flicked to my lips for one split second. A single heartbeat. And then, he stood. Abruptly. Too fast. As if stepping back from an edge he wasn't supposed to approach. He cleared his throat. I'll get you a blanket. His voice was lower. Rougher. He walked away quickly, shoulders stiff. He was running from something he didn't want to name. And I was left on the sofa, breathing too fast, heat spreading under my skin. Later that night, the storm. Hours passed. Ryan slept deeply against me, small and warm, his breath soft and steady. The penthouse lights dimmed automatically as night settled over the city, painting shadows across the floor. Kale stayed near. Not hovering. Not pacing. Just near. Working on his laptop at the table. Reading something, but not turning the pages. Checking on Rion every few minutes when he thought I wasn't looking. But I saw. I saw everything. Every flicker of concern. Every soft glance he didn't mean to give. Every moment his eyes lingered too long on me. It made something warm and terrifying stir inside my chest. Then, thunder cracked across the sky. The building trembled slightly. Rion jolted awake with a gasp, body seizing in panic. His eyes widened. Soren. I held him instantly. It's okay. I'm here. I'm here. He shook violently. Don't let go, don't. I won't, I whispered, pulling him against me. Kale stood so fast his chair fell backward. Rion. He rushed over, face pale with fear, but Rion buried his face deeper into my chest, refusing to reach for his father. Kale froze again. Pain shot across his expression. I rubbed Rion's back gently, my voice low. You're safe. It's just thunder. Nothing will hurt you. Lightning flashed. Another crack of thunder. Rion sobbed loudly, shaking uncontrollably. I need to take him somewhere quieter, I said softly. Kale nodded immediately. Basement floor, storage rooms are sound insulated. I stood, carrying the trembling boy. Kale watched every step, his anxiety radiating off him. We took the private elevator down. The hallway was dark and quiet, the storm muffled behind thick walls. I found an empty storage room, dim and calm. Rion clung to me like I was air. Kale stayed near the doorway. His breathing was uneven. Soren, is he? He's overwhelmed, I murmured. Just give him a second. I sank to the floor with Rion in my lap. His little hands grabbed my shirt like lifelines. Kale paced once, then twice. Then he knelt beside us. Not close, but close enough. His hand hovered near Rion's back, then pulled away like he wasn't sure if he had the right to touch his own son. My heart cracked for him. He's safe, I said softly. Kale's voice broke. He won't even look at me. I shook my head gently. It's not rejection. It's instinct. I'm already holding him. Alphas his age cling to the first person who grounds them. He's not choosing me over you. He's scared. Kale let out a slow, shaky breath. Rion finally began to calm, small hiccups fading. I felt Kale watching me. And when I looked up, he wasn't looking at Rion anymore. He was looking at me. Really looking. His eyes moved slowly from my hands to my face, lingering like he couldn't look away even if he tried. Soren, he whispered, voice dark with something I couldn't name. I swallowed hard. Kale. His breath brushed my cheek. Our foreheads almost touched. Then Rion shifted, reminding us he was still nestled between us. Kale pulled back sharply, jaw tightening, eyes burning with emotion he struggled to hide. He stood abruptly. We should go back upstairs, he said, voice rough. I nodded, breath unsteady. We rode the elevator up. Kale didn't look at me. Not once. Because if he did, he might have said the thing he wasn't ready to say. And I might have answered. Hours later, after Rion finally fell asleep again in the guest room, still holding onto my shirt even in slumber, I found Kale standing on the balcony. Rain streaked the glass. The storm had softened but not faded. He didn't turn when I stepped out. You should rest, I said quietly. His voice was soft. I can't. I stepped beside him, close but not too close. The city lights glowed below us. Kale exhaled shakily. Seeing him calm in your arms, it felt like hope. And I haven't felt that in a long time. My heart stuttered. He turned his head slightly, eyes tracing my face. Soren, he murmured, what are you running from? My breath caught. Thunder rumbled far away. I stared at him, caught between the truth and my fear. And Kale. Kale looked at me like he was ready to catch whatever answer fell out of me. But I didn't answer. I stepped back. Too fast, scared and exposed. Soren. I should check on Rion. My voice broke. Kale's eyes softened with something like hurt, but he let me go. And as I walked away, I could feel his gaze following me. Heavy, conflicted and wanting. Something dangerous and inevitable was unfolding between us. And we both felt it, even if we weren't ready to say it. That was the thought echoing in my head as I closed the guest room door behind me. Rion lay curled on the bed, small fingers tangled in the sleeve of my shirt. His breathing was soft now, steady, calm in a way I'd never seen before, like his nightmares had finally loosened their claws. I brushed a hand across his forehead, smoothing his hair gently. He sighed and leaned toward the touch, instinctual, trusting. My chest tightened. I should have felt relieved. Proud, even. I helped him. I soothed him. I gave him safety. But as the storm faded outside and the city lights shimmered through the curtains, my heart felt heavier. Kale's voice from the balcony still clung to my skin. Seeing him calm in your arms, it felt like hope. That word, hope, felt dangerous, especially when spoken by an alpha, especially when spoken by him. I stood slowly, slipping my arm free from Ryan's loose grasp. He didn't stir. His sleep was peaceful, fluttering, vulnerable, open. I turned toward the hallway and froze. Kale was standing there. Not far, not close, just there. His arm rested on the doorframe, his head slightly bowed. His chest rose and fell too deeply to be calm. His eyes, when they lifted to meet mine, were dark and searching. Neither of us spoke. The whole world felt like it was holding its breath. Finally, Kale whispered, "He's still asleep?" My throat felt tight. "Yeah, he's doing well." The relief that passed through Kale's body was so palpable it almost broke me. He stepped forward, slowly, like approaching a wounded animal, and looked over my shoulder to check on his son. His expression softened the second he saw the boy's face. But then his gaze slid back to me. Everything changed. The distance in his eyes evaporated. The hesitation, the restraint, all gone. "Soren," he murmured, voice barely above a breath. "Come with me, please." Before I could ask where, he gently took my wrist, lightly, giving me every chance to pull away. But I didn't. I couldn't. My body moved with his as he led me down the hallway, past the living room where the storm's last flickers of lightning reflected against the windows, past the soft shadows stretching across the floor. He stopped at the balcony door. I swallowed. "You want to talk?" I asked quietly. He didn't answer with words. He reached out, traced a thumb, shaky, hesitant, down the inside of my wrist. My pulse jumped violently under his touch. Kale exhaled like he felt the same shock run through him. "I need air," he whispered. "And I need you there when I take it." The honesty in his voice nearly buckled my knees. He slid the door open. A cool breeze drifted in, carrying rain-soaked air and the distant hum of traffic. We stepped outside. The city stretched endlessly below us. The clouds glowed faintly, lit from below by streetlights and the last flickers of the storm. Kale stood at the edge of the balcony railing, gripping it with both hands. His shoulders were rigid, tense in a way that frightened me. I stepped beside him, close enough to feel the heat radiating off his skin. "What's wrong?" I whispered. He didn't look at me. "Soren." His voice cracked. Tonight, something shifted. My throat tightened. He breathed in sharply, as if gathering courage. "I've been holding everything together with my bare hands. For months. For Rion. For work. For the world. And today," his jaw clenched. "Today, I saw someone hold him like he was worth something. Like he wasn't broken. I felt something inside me fracture." "Kale," I murmured. He finally turned. His eyes, those storm-gray eyes, were raw. Not fierce. Not controlled. Not alpha. Just human. "He's not the only one who's been waking up from nightmares," he said quietly. The words hit me like a blow. I stepped closer without meaning to. "You don't have to pretend." His lips parted, like the truth was burning his tongue. "I'm tired," he said, voice barely more than a broken thought. "I'm tired of holding every piece of my life together alone. I'm tired of watching my son fall apart and not being able to fix it. And I'm tired of—" He stopped abruptly. "Of what?" I waited. He exhaled shakily and turned away again, fingers digging into the railing as if anchoring himself. "I'm tired of wanting things I shouldn't want," he whispered. My heart stopped. Desire, shame, fear, longing. Every emotion twisted together in his voice. Wind brushed through my hair, sending cold air across the heat pooling under my skin. I stepped closer. One step. Another. Until my shoulder brushed his arm lightly. His breath stilled. My voice was soft. "Kale, look at me." Slowly, agonizingly, he obeyed. When his gaze found mine, it felt like the ground shifted under our feet. "Soren," he breathed, "tell me to stop. Tell me not to say it." His eyes dropped, just once, to my lips. Heat shot straight through me. "I won't tell you to stop," I whispered. His chest rose sharply. I took another step toward him, close enough that my breath mixed with his, close enough that his scent, pine, amber, warmth, pulled me in like gravity. Kale swallowed hard. "I haven't wanted anything in months," he whispered. "Not food, not sleep, not company, nothing." He paused, pain flickering across his features. "And then you walked into my home, into my son's life, and suddenly His voice broke. "I want again." My heartbeat became a roar. He lifted a hand slowly, slow enough for me to pull back, fingers hovering near my jaw. I shouldn't, he murmured, voice trembling. You've been hurt. You flinch when I move too fast. You look at the floor when you talk about your past. I know you're running from something, and I closed the distance. Not my lips, not a kiss, just my forehead against his. Soft, tentative, a beginning. Kale inhaled sharply like I'd burned him. Soren, he whispered, voice strangled. My eyes drifted closed. I'm not running right now. For a moment, he didn't breathe. Then he leaned into the touch, forehead pressing more firmly against mine, his lips inches from mine, his breath unsteady. You don't know what you're doing to me, he murmured. Maybe I do, I whispered. A soft, pained sound escaped him, half a laugh, half a groan. His fingers brushed my jaw. Just the lightest touch, but it felt like fire. Soren, he said again, lower this time. I need to kiss you. My breath caught. Not want. Not think about. Not maybe. Need. I lifted my head slightly, giving him the smallest nod. His hand cupped my jaw fully now, warm and steady. He leaned in slowly, as if giving me time to stop him. I didn't. His nose brushed mine. His breath trembled. And then, Kale kissed me. Soft. So soft I almost thought it wasn't real. His lips barely grazed mine, testing, asking, trembling. My heart thundered. I exhaled shakily against his mouth, and that was all the permission he needed. The kiss deepened. Heat unfurled in my chest, spreading through every nerve, every vein. His lips moved against mine with a gentleness that didn't match his size or his strength, slow, reverent, like he was terrified of breaking me. His other hand slid to the back of my neck, fingers threading into my hair. My own hands found his chest, gripping lightly as he pulled me closer. The city lights blurred. The cool breeze vanished. All I felt was him. Kale pulled back just enough to breathe, but he didn't let go. His forehead rested against mine again, our breaths mingling, both of us shaking from the force of it. I've wanted to do that since the moment you knelt to comfort my son, he whispered, voice raw and unguarded. My chest tightened painfully. Kale. He kissed me again, shorter, firmer, like he couldn't help himself. When he pulled back, he searched my face with a tenderness that left me breathless. You don't have to stay, he whispered. Not for me. Not for him. But if you choose to. His thumb brushed my cheek. Don't run from me in the morning. Something inside me cracked wide open. I swallowed thickly, trying to steady my voice. I don't know what I'll be tomorrow. His eyes softened. I don't need promises. Just don't disappear without a word. Please. The plea in his voice shattered something in me. I won't, I whispered. A tremor ran through his body, relief, fear, desire all tangled together. He pulled me into his chest, arms sliding around me slowly, carefully, like I was something fragile he'd just been given permission to hold. I sank into him. His warmth wrapped around me. His heartbeat pressed against my cheek. His chin rested lightly atop my head. For the first time in months, maybe years, I felt safe. Not because he was strong. Not because he was an alpha. Not because he had a penthouse or power. But because he held me like he wanted to protect the pieces of me no one else had ever seen. Minutes passed. Maybe hours. We stayed like that until the storm fully faded. Eventually, Kale loosened his arms, not letting go, just easing the hold, so he could look at me. There's a guest bed, he said softly. You can sleep there. I'll stay nearby in case Rion wakes. His voice dropped, lower, warmer. And if you want me closer. The invitation hung in the air. I didn't look away. I want you close, I whispered. His breath hitched. He brushed a soft kiss to my forehead, then another slower, near my temple. His lips hovered dangerously close to mine again, but he held himself back. We should sleep, he murmured against my skin. I nodded, but neither of us moved. Eventually, he took my hand, gently, lacing our fingers together, and led me inside. He didn't let go as we walked through the penthouse. Not in the hallway. Not outside the guest room. Only when I reached the edge of the bed did he stop. His thumb stroked the back of my hand once, slow and tender. Good night, Soren, he whispered. My breath trembled. Good night, Kale. He leaned in. One last kiss. Soft. Lingering. He pulled back with visible effort, stepped out of the room, and gently closed the door. I lay down, heart still racing, lips still tingling, body buzzing with heat and confusion and something dangerously close to longing. But before sleep took me, one final thought drifted through my mind. I didn't run tonight. And maybe, Maybe I didn't want it anymore.